and gentlemen, boys and girls, hockey fans around the world, welcome back to the Party Package. My name is Owen, and allow me to introduce myself. I am the savior of entertainment and the prophet of today's Buffalo Sabre season preview. Now, yesterday we took a look at the Boston Bruins, a team that has hopefuls. They're hopeful for the playoffs and to make a push and may be coming to the end of their current reign or dynasty. They're an interesting team. Today, we're looking at a team who should have been coming out of a rebuild for several years now, yet they are still in shambles and are coming nowhere near to getting out of it. Every year, it seems like, until this year, I would say, it was like, well, this should be the year they should be good. I mean, they used to have Eichel. They added Skinner when he was really good. They had Middlestat. They had Reinhardt. I mean, just every year. And then they had Ullmark in net. Like, every single year, it looks like they're going to be a better team. But every year, they just seem to just suck again. And this year is finally the first year where I look at this team, I'm like, there's definitely no way this team... Like, every year I've looked at them and said, this team could bounce back. This is the year that they could come back and finally prove themselves. This is the first year that looking at this team, I'm definitely like, this is a bad team. And maybe that's finally the direction they need to go in. Maybe this is the year where we finally say, hey, this is a bad team, and they finally do bounce back. Maybe that's what they need. I mean, obviously last year they traded away Eichel, and they kind of played better without him, actually, when you look at the way things play out. But at the draft, they drafted Savoie, who won't be able to play. I think or Savoy, however you say his name. I think it's Savoie. But he won't be able to play. He's not in the lineup. So anyways, just looking at this team on offense, he got Skinner, Tage Thompson, Olofsson. This is what Cap Friendly has listed for their thing. I think this is a pretty solid lineup here with what they have to work with. On offense, I would say they are kind of at the Red Wings level for the last few years, where they only have Larkin, Bertuzzi, Verana. You know what I mean? Like, they have like a few good players that would make up a good second line for another team, but not for a first line. Skinner is, once again, he's back and forth. You know, last year he had a bounce-back year, but not as good as the year he scored 40 goals. And Tage Thompson, who is from Phoenix, Arizona, and every time I saw him playing, I was always, I'm biased towards him, of course, but Tage Thompson, every time I saw him on the ice playing for them, I was like, man, that guy is huge, he's big, he can play. Thompson is going to be a big player, I think. I mean, he is a big player. But he's going to be a big player in the NHL. I think a team could go after him, and like he would be a perfect fit on any team. A big guy that can actually score. He had 68 points or something like that last season. Pretty good, pretty good. Olofsson, they re-signed. They have all the pieces. Like Middlestat, like they have these guys that could be something. Like Krebs, Middlestat, Tage Thompson's young. And then on defense, you got Dahlin, Owen Powers. Like, they have pieces, but they just can't win. This team just struggles to find a way to win, and that's how I look at this team. This team over the last few seasons has been like when you see the Flyers. You know how the Flyers go through their stretches of like winning 10 then losing 10? It's just the Buffalo Sabres are a good team like the Flyers, but just are always stuck in the lose 10. Because they're not terribly built. I mean, Dahlin, Samuelson, Power, Yoki Harju, I don't know who Bryson is, to be honest, and Labushkin. That's not terrible. That's not terrible defense. On offense, they're no worse than, well, actually, they're not very good on offense this year. But in the past few years, I mean, last year with Eichel and whatever, but goaltending is where it falls apart. Goaltending, of course, Anderson and Comrie. They have yet to sign Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who I think is going to be a good goalie. They traded away Ullmark last year to the Bruins. It's just this team seems to constantly be rebuilding, even though they shouldn't have been. I'm going to make a video about how the Coyotes did terrible at drafting. This team has done fine at drafting. They just can't win. It's like they're a good team stuck in a rut, and that's how I would describe every year for the Buffalo Sabres. So, the question is, do they make the playoffs? Definitely not. I said yesterday the Bruins might have a tougher chance with the help of the Red Wings and the Ottawa Senators getting better. The Buffalo Sabres are not as good as those three teams. If they were in the Pacific, I would say maybe. But in the Atlantic Division, I mean, you already know the top three spots are going to be taken up by Tampa, Florida, and the Maple Leafs. And then the Bruins are right there, and now the Red Wings and the Ottawa Senators are built themselves up to there. The Buffalo Sabres, I mean, if some guys come alive, I mean, if Skinner goes to a 40-goal season, Olofsson plays pretty well, Tage Thompson lights up again, Middlestat plays the way you think he should, Krebs lights up as well, Tuck. I mean, if these guys play the way they should, I would say they could be a runner-up. They could play they're better than I would say the Ottawa Senators this season. I would say they're maybe almost on level if those guys play the way they should. Would be on the same level as the Red Wings, and maybe if they add a couple pieces, they could be as good as the Bruins, maybe. But they don't have a Pasta, they don't have a Marchand on the team, or a Hall, which is funny because Hall used to be on this team. So I don't see it happening. Their problems is that, I mean, for number one, their goaltending. Anderson and Comrie's not a good. Those are two like last resort goaltenders. Comrie's a good goalie to put behind Hellebuck like he was there, where he's good to play like maybe 20 games a season just to give the really good goaltender a break. But Anderson, I don't even know why Anderson's still in the league, to be honest. He's so old. I mean, defense, offense, and goaltending are all need work, of course. But my question is that every team has a hope, you know. What is their goal to achieve this season? What is their, like last season, let's say the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Colorado Avalanche were total go in for the Stanley Cup, right? I mean, obviously, that's what every team wants. But that's like their goal. For example, like the Coyotes' goal was to sell everyone away so they could hopefully tank and get some pieces. That's what they did. What is the Buffalo Sabres' goal for this year? I don't know. Because they have the pieces, and they've had them for years, to hopefully next season could be the season. That used to be the thing for the Sharks, was next season was the season, but that was to win the Cup. The Buffalo Sabres now is next season's the season to finally get into gear and win something. And they've been in that same mentality for the last, I would say since Eichel. No, Eichel wasn't the first one to be drafted. It was like whenever the first year, like they signed like Middlestat or like Reinhardt or something. They've every year has been like, oh, next year's the year where we're gonna finally bounce back from what we've been going through. And every year it just they don't do it. So what is the hope here? They have pieces to play good. And if they could trade or buy, I mean, it's going to be kind of hard for them to buy. I don't think a Nazem Kadri or a John Klingberg would really want to go here. And Kachuk already went somewhere else. Johnny Hockey didn't sign here. I don't really know. I mean, they could trade, obviously, for somebody. But without trading for anybody with this team, I don't see going very... This team could be... In any other division, I would say a playoff maybe. But being in the Atlantic, I'd say definitely no way. It's going to be hard. I don't know. This team isn't bad enough to tank. People like Olofsson, Middlestat, Tage Thompson, Skinner, Krebs, and Tuck, especially like a Tuck in that locker room, those guys aren't going to want to tank a season. They're not going to. Dahlin and Powers, like those guys are not going to tank. They're going to play their hearts out to try to win something. So do they? I see this team being... This team, I would say, finishes 6th place or 7th in the Atlantic just because it's so stacked. So I don't know. They're not bad enough to try to get Connor Bedard next season, right? Connor Bedard obviously going to be the number 1 pick next year. He's going to be an incredible player. This team is not bad enough to tank for him, but they're not good enough to make it to the playoffs, which is the worst position for a team to be in. So what do I see their management doing? I don't know, because what team's going to want to pick up, like, Skinners? Like, obviously nobody. But who do you get rid of? It's not like you have the old guard. Your players that you could get rid of are the new players, you know? Like, you're not going to get rid of Olafson and Middlestat, Power, and Darlene to get some younger players or something. They are the younger players. So I'm not sure where this team's going to go with this season. At the trade deadline, if they're doing somewhat decent, I don't see this team trying to be a buyer either and trying to make themselves into something because they're not good enough to make that big push unless they could add some is Patrick Kane from Buffalo or is he from closer to New York City? I know he's from New York. But I don't know. But here's the thing, even with a Patrick Kane, they had Jack Eichel and he didn't do anything for the team. So this team, maybe just it's the city. Maybe Buffalo just doesn't deserve a hockey team because they can't win with anything. I don't know where this team's supposed to go. They've been stuck in the same rut for the last 7 years, and they've gotten nowhere clear getting out of it. Now, I'm sure every season, the joke is that the Buffalo Sabres win like 10 games in a row to begin the season, and they lose a whole month's worth of hockey. And that's how the season goes every year for the Sabres. I don't know how they kick out of it. To be honest, I think this team's probably better than they are last season because Eichel's finally out of the locker room and Tuch really seemed to light up the team. And with growing players like a Thompson and a Krebs, Asplund as well, and Nick Cousins, these guys, they have the potential. These guys all have it in them. Darlene and Power, they've got the potential to be great. They just never, ever. It's just like they don't commit to winning. It's like they're trying to hide the secret that they are good, and they just keep it secret. I don't know. I don't know where they go with this team. They're just stuck in no man's land, out of the playoffs, but not bad enough to get a great draft pick. And I don't know where they go with this. So there's nothing really to fix. There's nothing to fix, and there's nothing to do. I don't know what they could do this offseason, this trade deadline to be better. Other than for obviously trade for like Patrick Kane or something. But who do you give up? Because if you trade for Kane, who do you get rid of who? Like Skinner. Well, I guess maybe the Blackhawks will just take like Yoki Harju back or something because the Blackhawks are just willing to trade nothing away for everybody. So I don't know. It's an odd situation, and I don't see it getting any better this season or next season, really, because this is going to probably be the same team next season. Unless these guys light up, it's going to be the same story every year with the Buffalo Sabres. So I guess that's all I really have to say about the trouble team that is the Buffalo Sabres. So I guess if you liked watching this video, please pick up your free subscription down below by hitting that red subscribe button, the little bell that pops up next to it. If you like to leave a like, that's the thumbs up, but don't leave a thumbs down. But you can go down below to the comment section and leave a thought, opinion, reviews, feedback, suggestions, comments, concerns, and any other sort of tangents, rangents, and other words that you'd like to put down below to give us feedback on how to do things better. And what do you think the Buffalo Sabres will do this season? What is on your mind? I don't even know what's on my mind about this team. They're just so confusing every year that I have no clue what to even think about them anymore. So thank you for watching, and until next time, I have been the party, Owen. Ta-ta for now.